Hello and welcome to the ThreeWill podcast. This is your host, Danny Ryan, and I have Tommy Ryan here with me. Hey, Tommy, how's it going?
It's going well. Good morning, Danny.
Welcome to 2017. Isn't that
We are
kind
here.
of crazy?
Let's get it on.
It's a new year. It feels good to come back and have the holidays off and ready for a new year. You ready for a new year?
Yes.
Awesome. Did you get any socks for Christmas?
I did. Actually, Austin gave me a pair. Since he listens to that.
Hey, shout out to
podcast.
Austin. Hey, you better be listening to this. So I got my first pair of this. Jason Jones from Cressa gave me, I got to choose my.
I didn't see
gift.
socks on
and
that.
I did.
That's cool.
Sock Club was one of the things, so I
Okay.
signed up for the Sock Club.
Nice.
So so I've got my first pair and enjoying that. Thanks, Jason, for that nice Christmas gift. So to get us kicked off, and I think this is going to be episode 99. And
Wow.
talking with Austin, he said that he might do a bloopers one for 100 or do something a little different for 100. We'll see. We'll let his creative juices run and see what he can come up with that. If not, we'll just have the second part of this 3-part series. What we wanted to talk about during this 3-part series is our ThreeWill brand promise. And so I'll get us kicked off here with a little bit of an intro. If you go to our website on our homepage at the very bottom, if you click on Our Promise, it has this text in there. And our promise to business sponsors is this. Of course, it comes in 3, right, Tommy?
That's right. We like 3.
3, and then we often refer to these as the 3 C's because they all start with the letter C. And that is control, choice, and commitment. And for this first podcast, I'd like to talk about control. Because I
Who
think
wants
that,
control?
Who wants control? Well, there's a lot of things
Just
that
let
we
go.
need. Go ahead. What is it? What is it?
No.
No. And along with control, we say we provide the structure for our clients to control priority of features and budget throughout the lifetime of the project. And, I think this is one of those things where as soon as you go to an outside organization, you're starting to think, am I going to lose control of this thing? Am I going to not get what I want? Is this going to be more than I expected to pay for it? There's things that happen all of a sudden when you start working with an outside organization like ThreeWill that are your concerns. And we started off with control. So tell me a little bit, just I guess I'm not going to say it. I was going to say it. Tell me
At
about
a medium
control.
level or
a medium
a high level?
Medium. Well, at a medium level control. Tell me a little bit about that, Tommy.
Well, I agree. I think people care about or get concerned with things going out of control as you go to an external partner. When it's internal folks, I think from a budget standpoint, from a sense of these are the people that are going to work on my priorities as the first priority. Mm-hmm. There's a lot of control when you're working internally. And then you go externally, you start worrying about things like budget. Are they going to get things accomplished the way I want them to get accomplished? And so you have to demonstrate early on that you have those knobs for them to turn. Mm-hmm. And so you have feedback loops that say, oh, if I do this, then I get this. And so doing Scrum has, I think, helped us from that control standpoint to allow us to give the feedback loops that give the confidence that when I want to, turn down my burn rate, I want to spend less time on a certain feature. I know how to do that within the process that ThreeWill uses to engage with me, so that we care about that.
In the priority of features, I think this is one of those things that, often with working with other organizations that take more of a waterfall type approach, you might have to agree upon everything in the upfront, and then business changes, or you start to see more of what you're getting, and you might change your mind on something. I think it's very important for that the product owner to have control over priority into what goes into the next sprint. And, I think that's fundamental to what we do.
Yeah, and I think the control also has to be in balance with flexibility.
Yep.
And so, you could say waterfall has more control because everything's written down and, quote, decided upon, and you can control it, against those requirements, against that documentation until the end.
But I'd say along with that, who's controlling who? Sometimes it feels like the vendor is controlling the client with that.
I believe so. I think that's usually used as a leverage to say, well, you didn't document that, so that's not included. And I think we lean towards we want to deliver something you care about, and so put the emphasis on working software in balance with other things that are important on enterprise grade delivery. But at the end of the day, people have to see the end product to say, did we get there? And so breaking it up into sprint cycles allows people to say, yes, I understand what it takes to get to that end, and I have control over what things go into that product along the way versus being forced to do what I initially documented.
Controlling the budget. Our typical SOW that we write is time and material with a budget cap on it. So it's sort of like, it gives sort of what we often think is the best of both worlds, which is I want to be able to set a cap on this, whatever my budget is that I've set internally. But then if it takes less time, I am fine with, maybe saving a little bit of money and in delivering something in less time. But it often, we're always trying to think of, how do we set this up so that the client stays in control of that budget?
Yeah, and the nice thing about that, I think with time and material, where you give that incentive of if we can make decisions more effectively as an overall team, ThreeWill and our customer, then at the end of the day, we can get more done with less money. And so you can see that, all right, I can either stop after I get through what's most important and leave that budget available for later, or I can continue on and add additional features because I've got that extra budget to spend. So, I think although, we have certain services we offer on a kind of fixed price basis, when we build out software, a lot of times we stay away from that because it takes out the tension that you need to have there to say, let's get the most value out of this. And if we did it fixed, then you end up saying, well, what's the minimal we can do? And then the customer's going to try to go for the maximum without any kind of restraints. And then you're spending a lot of time kind of arguing around the documentation of, well, what did we say we agreed upon? And based on how you read it, you can interpret differently. And so we've tried to avoid that kind of confrontation and say, let's start small. Let's work together. And the important thing is building a good trust where we can accomplish a lot together. We're not spending a lot of time on the things that don't add value towards getting that product built. So in a time and material, we find that you can have the control by capping it to a not to exceed. So you don't feel like I've got an open check that I'm writing. I've got, a checkpoint that says you can't bill more than this. And then let's see how we can work together, and are we work compatible to accomplish the things that we need to accomplish. And we feel that that's, the way to go. Don't go in there and lock in the customer, set that initial foundation to build trust.
Our key persona, sort of the person that we focus in on as, some of the great stakeholders that we've had in the past. One of the things by putting control in here is, or stating that out as part of our brand promise, is that this matters to them. I mean, this is staying in control, or the feeling of control is important to them. And there's a lot of things that they can't control or that are outside of of things that they're in control of. But working with us, we want that feeling of, hey, well, at least the ThreeWill folks are taking care of this.
Right. Yeah, we're trying to reduce the variables for them to say, okay, I know these things are okay, and then I can focus on the other things that need to be addressed.
I can't do anything about these other things, but what I can do is I can work with ThreeWill, and they can take this off my plate, and I can they're letting me know where they need decisions from me. But just that overall, we've talked about feelings before, and what are we selling? A part of what we're selling here is that feeling of being in control.
Definitely.
One of the things, all this, like all good things that I come up with, I'm just restating something that someone else has said. I actually came up with the brand promise from the testimonials that we've heard from. I sort of looked through what were people saying about us at the end of projects.
Right.
And this was something that we heard, I sort of saw as an overarching theme of what we did, which was, letting people continue to control what was going on in the project. And part of this whole doing the brand promise is saying, you know what, this has been called out to us by customers in the past, and we think this is something that you'll enjoy. Is there a reason why you'll enjoy working with us?
Yeah, and I think that control came out of our desire to be predictable. In the process of Scrum, to have a feedback loops to say, are we on track or not? Let's make adjustments early enough so we can hit targets. And that, gets us excited, and I think our customers like that. It gives them a sense of, I know when I hand this off to ThreeWill, they're going to be guiding me down the path to best use that budget and accomplish, the goals that need to be accomplished to be successful.
And I've experienced this by some of the marketing things that I've done, where I've worked with outside firms to get things done, which is, I might feel like internally, like we've got a lot of priorities internally, and I might not have control over what I can ask people, for, or make commitments on deadlines. But if I'm working with an outside firm, it seems like I do have a little bit more control of saying, you guys you're going to deliver this by this date, and I need this by this date, and here's what I need from you. I've just noticed this when I'm working, both trying to get things. There's nothing wrong with it. It's just a fact of the matter is sometimes if you need something to get done, working with an outside firm and setting them to that, deliver on this date with this budget. Sometimes it seems like for me, I can get it done that way.
Right, because it's a priority for them, right?
Yeah.
I mean, they're dedicating resources versus working with a shared set of resources internally, where your project is one of 5 projects that they're working on. So whoever's, quote, screaming the loudest might get the attention, and that's not any fun.
And it's the problem. It's the common problem that cobbler's children have no shoes, because you're worried about your clients' problems and not your own internal problems. And so, I think it's some of it. This probably is experience from our clients as well, which is, they may have a very important initiative that you're trying to deliver by the third quarter of this year, and they're, internally they're weighing that against a bunch of other things that need to happen. Well, if you're working with an outside firm like ThreeWill, that's our first priority, and we'll hit on to this more with choice and commitment. Those are the other 2 that we'll talk about. But you do have to have somebody who's fully committed to this.
Right.
Awesome. So that's it for now. So we've got our subjects for the next couple weeks.
Yay!
So wonderful. So next week we'll talk about choice, and then the final week we'll talk about commitment. Thank you, Tommy, for taking the time to do this.
Sure, Danny.
Have a great 2017, everyone, and we'll talk to you soon.
Let's do it.
Bye-bye.
Bye.